just want to scream about your own thing and think that your worldview and your opinion on this is the only one that exists on the planet, then I'm really not that interested in hearing from you. First, we did a few segments on the branding specifically, and I do find it interesting overall that anything business related is a chance for fans to say stuff about the name. It's kind of wild, actually, because we did some segments that were just on the stadium before the Klaus thing happened, before we talked about the branding, and it was purely on the RFK news, and that the comment sections would turn into logo and name stuff. So it's clear people care, which was kind of my point when I then talked about it once Klaus got hired. And I thought this comment from the Rake, @_the_Rake, really kind of captured that. Because he says, I know Craig and I are on opposite sides of this argument, but yes, I'm happy he's bringing it up, and I hope that he can at least help in getting the organization to listen to all of the fans on both sides and make an informed decision about what to do with the brand. And in case you missed it, one, of course, you can go watch it on YouTube or listen to it in our podcast feed. But the crux of my point was they need to put some finality on this topic as opposed to consistently saying there are more important things. I'm sorry, you're a multi-billion-dollar organization with a lot of resources invested and now new leadership. You have to do multiple things at once, and not letting this loom over the franchise, I think, is really, really important. Secondly, specific to the name, we got a lot of comments that the only name that was right, the only name that I would support the team was about 5 different names. Warriors, Red Wolves, the old name, Commanders, even. Like, hey, I don't want them doing another name change. That's the only option. So if that doesn't make it obvious and self-evident that there's no fix-all solution, I don't know what does. A couple of specific comments that I think are interesting. Jack Package 287 says, what people fail to realize is that the NFL does not want controversy hanging over the shield. The NFL doesn't want people protesting outside of every stadium Washington plays at by having protesters that then invites counter-protesters, and it's just a problem. Josh Harris is a businessman, first and foremost, and this is bad for business. The second thing is that people love throwing out all these replacement names: Warriors, Warhogs, Hogs, Red Wolves, Braves, etc. These names are all trademark names, and the owner of these names are going to want a king's ransom once they figure out an NFL team wants to purchase it. I believe Josh Harris would rather spend that money putting a better product on the field and creating a more enjoyable fan experience. I believe he stated that at his press conference when he purchased the team. What seriously blows my mind is how we finally have a top-tier quarterback, a competent coaching staff, a new owner, and our team is finally trending in a positive direction after 30 years of losing, and some fans still want to dwell on the past and nitpick everything about the Commanders' name. That's kind of mostly where I am. Do I think it's a great name? No. Is the best shortening of the name I can come up with the Mandos, and is that kind of tongue-in-cheek? Yeah. What I've been fine with it saying is Washington football team. Yeah, it's something unique. Sure. But I think what frustrates me is more than any specific name in any direction it wants to go, like, just say it's over. If you're not going to do it, say so. And I know that they wanted to get – I'm not necessarily complaining about the fact that they haven't done it yet. They've been in charge for like 18 months, if that. It was August. It's not even 16 months since Josh Harris signed on the dotted line and took over, and we had that big old party down at the bullpen, right? So if that's the case, like, okay, fine. But moving forward, once this new team president is in – I think within the next 16 months, the next 18 months, they should have finality on that. Either we are scrapping Command. They don't have to have it done, right? They could say we're scrapping Commanders, we're going to do the research, but a rebrand is coming, and we are going to announce it in 2027 or 2028 or whatever, right? You then run the risk that you win a Super Bowl as the Commanders because Jaden Daniels loses his mind and goes on a crazy playoff run, and that'd be sweet. And then you can have, add that one and it just be a nice little memento over at the park. Remember that short stretch of time we were called Commanders and won a Super Bowl? That's cool. But you could do that and say we're going to investigate it, but then you commit to changing the name. Or you just say, like, we're done here. We're not changing it. Please stop asking us. Move on. And I think that would probably just be the right play. It saves you a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of resources, a ton of everything. And the better the team is, the more people are going to get over it because they're just going to realize they want to root for their good football team. That said, I think you also have this conundrum where there's no way to make everyone happy. Same guy at The Rake says, stadium aside, a rebrand is the number one thing I want Klaus to address. I will always root for the team, but I will never support the Commanders brand. That is, by the way, an intellectual disconnect that I don't really understand, but sure. I hate it. It's a lame, reused, failed USFL brand that doesn't elicit any excitement or passion. I would like it if they could bring back the old logo and change the name to Brave since it was our original name, was in our fight song, and has ties to our history. But if it's off the table, then go Red Wolves or something that we can get fired up about. If they stay Commanders, then stop all of this reference to our history. Get rid of the fight song. Stop with all of the Raise Hail slogans because none of that matters anymore. We need a clean slate. Like I said, I'll still root for the team, but they will not be getting any of my money if that's the course they choose. The part I want to underscore here is, one, I think it is a fair point. Like, hey, if you're going to move on to something else, then move on. But they're trying to, of course, walk this line of we're honoring the history, we're honoring the traditions, but we're moving on. But this fan says, hey, like, get rid of the fight song. We hate it. If you're not going to let us sing the version that we want, or you're going to pretend like that isn't the version that we want. But stop the Raise Hail slogans and stop the flags. Well, Mr. Swervon says, I would tell the team president to reach out to the Gonzo did this and work on the branding. Our merchandise sucks even though we buy it. I buy it just to try and pump money into the team, but the branding needs a total overhaul. Those flags were great, though. So we got one person who's like, knock it off with the Raise Hail flags, and someone else who's like, hey, those flags were awesome. So, again, kind of hard to split the baby here. The lesson from the Bible, remember, was to not split the baby. Seth Stone _ill says, if old fans want to stay focused on the old name and logo, F them and let them stay mad. The history of the team isn't being erased, and neither is the legacy of the team. People just need BS to be mad about. They were losers with the name for the last 30-plus years, and they were losers with the yellow pants, but somehow nostalgia has these folks in a chokehold. Look, man, childhood nostalgia is a major thing. I don't know how deep I want to go here. There's people you can talk to about that. But I think it is really, really, like, I'm not going to dismiss people's childhood memories. I'm not going to dismiss the idea that people were really, really happy about the memories they have with their families going to games at RFK and the winning in the yellow pants and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that, like, if you're going to be an adult to talk about this, you have to acknowledge that team name had a lot of L's over 30 years. And that for an entire generation, if they still even like the team, they have no good memories outside of maybe a couple RG3 games in 2012 tied to that name. Moving forward is actually something that a lot of people do want to do, and it is heavily divided by age. And to at least be adult enough to acknowledge that, I think gets you a seat at the table. And if you don't, and you just want to scream about your own thing and think that your worldview and your opinion on this is the only one that exists on the planet, then I'm really not that interested in hearing from you.